I've been doing content creation full-time for almost half a year now. So in today's video, I wanted to really have a sit down, really relaxed chat with you, give you a bit of a life update. And because I like to be fidgety, I thought it would be a good idea for me to try and build this LEGO Mandrake. I absolutely love plants and I love Harry Potter, so I feel like this is the perfect little crossover between those two. So let's get started. Alrighty, let's have a look at this. Oh my god, I'm struggling with the first step. I don't think you're supposed to open it. I haven't built anything in LEGO in many decades. Well, not many decades, by at least 2 decades, I reckon. And seeing all of this, I feel like I have drastically underestimated how long this might take. And I hope I'll be able to give you live updates while concentrating on this. Let's see how good my multitasking is. But yeah, I saw it the other day. I was at the airport and I saw it at the airport, but I couldn't buy it then because I didn't want to carry it around with me. And then I went online to buy it because I really love the Harry Potter books. I grew up with them. I think Harry Potter was always like 1 or 2 years older than me, so I feel like I was kind of, you know, in that age, and I always wanted to go to Hogwarts, and I would definitely be, I think, a Gryffindor, to be honest. Let me know what house you'd be in the comments, and let me know what house you think I am. I think I'm a Gryffindor. No further explanation provided. Holy moly. Okay, so I will just start working on this and I'll try and talk to you as much as I can. Oh my god, there's so many parts. So it has been 5-ish months of being a full-time plant influencer or full-time content creator. And I thought it would be nice to maybe sit down with you, give you a bit of a update on how I'm finding things, how I'm going with things, what's next, and so on. Because why not? I think that's the whole point, right? I mean, I couldn't do content creation full time if it wasn't for you guys. So I think it is also fair to kind of talk to you about it. It's a huge part of my life these days. Right? First things first, I have to say I really love the decision that I made and I would do it again and I don't regret it at all. So that I just really want to say up front, it was definitely the right decision for me to make. Whether or not it was the right timing, that's a different question. I quit my job end of Feb, so my first non-working day was 1 July. No. My first non-working day was 1 March. Now March was still very hot and honestly I had the best time in March. I went to Adelaide and I gave you a quick update on the Adelaide trip before, but I just wanted to include it today again. So I went to Adelaide for my first business trip with Julie, which I really loved. It just made me feel like, wow, this was definitely the right decision, and it just made me feel like it was an experience I wouldn't normally get. If it wasn't for content creation, that would just be nothing that I would get to be exposed to. So that was really awesome, and I think it was a really good start into this new chapter of my life. Now there's so many steps, like I'm already on step 7 and I've only built this. And yeah, and I really started taking all of that free time that I have and put a lot of work into, let's say, like working on myself. Especially back then it was still really hot, it was really summery. March is probably one of the most enjoyable months over here in Australia because it's still hot, but it's the tail end of summer, so it's not like crazy. You don't get the 42-degree hot days, it's more like 30, 32 and so on. So started running again. Every time I start running again I just feel so good until some knee or hip or something hurts. But I really enjoy the process of running. I really enjoy that. And actually I didn't injure myself this time around, which was really good. The idea was really that I'm gonna enjoy the tail end of summer and obviously work on my business and establish that, or you know, continue my business, but also just take a little bit of time for myself after doing both content creation and a full-time job for 2, 3, well, technically I started content creation 5 years ago, but I mean, I was really serious about YouTube 2 years ago. And I mean, that's really what took up most of my time. But yeah, the idea was really to kind of just take a little breather and just really focus a little bit on myself. I feel like the years before that, and this is my 12th year in Australia already, I spent a lot of time on, well, living here, establishing a life over here, studying here, finding a job, establishing a career, kind of proving to myself as well that moving to Australia was the right decision and that I am a full-blown member of society over here and that I can compete with, English-born speakers for jobs and that I can establish a career and that I can outperform, let's say, people that were born here, that had a bit of a head start through connections, through even just the language and so on, right? So I'm a very ambitious person. It was really important to me that I proved to myself that, this is the right decision and act accordingly, right? So over those 12 years of being in Australia, I never really took any time for myself to also enjoy the country. Everything always has to be kind of productive or has to be, there needs to be like a higher purpose behind it. And it needs to end up being, it needs to lead somewhat towards something productive, right? After 12 years, I kind of really had this moment where I was like, well, I didn't just move to Australia to then just sit on a desk for the rest of my life. I want to enjoy some of this beautiful country that I live in. I want to enjoy the nice weather. I want to enjoy the people. And I feel like I wasn't really giving myself a chance because I was just throwing myself into work, left, right and center. So that was kind of like a big reason why I quit in the first place. And after I quit, that was then also my priority. I really just wanted to, enjoy this beautiful country and enjoy the time and enjoy and kind of do what I enjoy doing. But of course, at the same time, cost of living crisis, you still somewhat need to survive. But luckily, I built this content creation, back then side hustle that is now my full-time hustle, right? So yeah, very happy that I was even in a position to do this in the first place. And I thought, there's so many people in the world that will probably really, really appreciate an opportunity like that. And I actually have this opportunity. Why not take it? It was definitely not a financially driven decision. The decision was definitely based on just wanting to enjoy life a little bit more, just seeing more of this country while I'm young and, in my prime. And from that end, I really don't regret it, but that's where I feel like the timing was maybe a little bit off because, we then very quickly headed into winter and at the moment it's just not that nice to kind of travel and see things. And by travel, I don't mean like necessarily go international. That's straight away a large, financial commitment. Just more like see more of even Sydney, see more of New South Wales, see more of Australia, right? Kind of like even just small little day trips here and there or like a long weekend and so on, right? Like just enjoy life a little bit more. Wow, I'm building something. Oh. So that's kind of the background. I know that's kind of boring. Probably you guys, if you follow me for a while, you guys know this already, but that's kind of the background. That's why I did it and what I kind of tried to get out of this in the first place. I also don't necessarily think that I want to do this for the rest of my life, right? Like I like change and I naturally seek out change as well. It's really just that I thought, this is an opportunity that I've got right now. Let's just take that opportunity while I have it, and then I can still always find another corporate job or find some other job eventually, right? But this is an opportunity that I've got right now, and this is something that I'm gonna, talk about for the rest of my life probably, where it's like, oh, remember when I was 30, I was a plant YouTuber for a few years and made a living out of that. Like, how cool is that, right? So it was not a decision to, become a millionaire or buy a house. It's definitely leading me in the opposite direction. But it was just really about using this opportunity that I feel like is not unique, but quite special. And the reason why I'm kind of recapping this is as well is because over the last 5 months, let's say, my priority was not to just make money from this business. I'm obviously aiming at making enough money to cover my living expenses so I can survive, but I haven't been as ambitious with it as I actually initially anticipated. It's not a bad thing, because sometimes I get sometimes I just tend to, you know, go way too crazy and kind of not enjoy the moment. I'm so driven towards the future and what I want to achieve, or so like stuck in the past and what I kind of messed up and so on, that I don't actually focus on the moment. And I feel like, you know, the last few years specifically, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. It's probably absolutely nothing unique to me. Specifically with lockdowns and COVID and whatnot that happened in 2020, 2021, I feel like life has been racing away a little bit, and I think it also just comes with maturity. As you get older, I feel like this is a more common feeling to have, that you're just like, where did all this time go? How am I suddenly 30? How is it suddenly 2024? How is it suddenly mid-2024? And I was a little bit worried that I, you know, go back into old habits and kind of just work away, and suddenly it's been like 2 years and I haven't really done anything. I just kept myself occupied with yet again another computer, doing something different to what I did on a computer before, but I haven't really, you know, taken advantage of life outside of my computer. So I'm actually quite proud of how I've managed this and how I really put myself first and how I made myself as a person a priority rather than just Sydney plant guy, right? I mean, there's more to life than just work. This is so complicated. Oh my God, like it's taking all my brain capacity. Anyway, however, I'm still an ambitious person, so of course I still, and I need to, and I want to work. I enjoy my work now, right? I enjoy creating videos. I enjoy the editing process more because I'm less rushed. I enjoy looking after my plants because I can take my sweet time with them. I don't need to rush. So I've pretty much kept up my content schedule as it was before. I'm not producing more content than I did before, but I technically have much more time to produce the content. So, you know, I don't need to rush. I can be a little more diligent with the editing and so on. So I'm just having a better time creating the videos because I feel like I'm not always behind, I'm not always rushing. So this video would have probably been filmed 3 to 4 weeks ago because I'm kind of just filming a little bit in advance and editing in advance. So I can't go on a holiday without having to worry about next week's content and like, oh my God, quickly I need to rush and get some content done. And that just takes a little bit of pressure away, and that makes me have more fun with my videos. I don't know if that translates for you guys. I don't know if I seem more relaxed on camera or not, because yeah, who knows. But I'm certainly having an easier time making the videos. I'm having more fun making the videos, and I'm producing the same amount of videos because I also think that me producing more videos isn't necessarily going to improve the profitability of my business. Realistically, you guys only have so much time to watch me, right? If I produce 4 videos a week, maybe people don't have time to watch 4 videos a week, right? I think I'd be better off producing 2 videos a week. That seems to be the sweet spot. And you guys actually watch these 2 videos and then, you know, move on to the next week and so on, rather than me just bombarding you with videos that then nobody has time to watch. Then I take away good videos ideas and post them during times where nobody has the capacity to really watch them, right? With plants, that's probably my biggest concern, is that, you know, I'll just run out of video ideas, but because plants grow or die or whatnot, you know, video ideas do come fairly frequently to me, and just like the whole process of looking after a plant is a video idea in itself. But if I would suddenly try to produce 4 videos a week, that would definitely be a little bit more challenging than me trying to produce 2. And I don't think producing twice as many videos is going to get me twice as much revenue, if you know what I mean, right? Because you guys wouldn't potentially have time to watch all of them. Ideally, I would actually like to produce less videos and have each video perform better, but understand that this is a really niche hobby, right? With very niche content. So there aren't that many people that are really interested in it. So I'm trying to find a good balance between volume of videos, but then obviously also quality of videos. Yeah, and I feel like 2 a week seems to be the sweet spot. And that works for me. I'm more than happy and capable to produce 2 videos a week, but that actually leaves me with quite a lot of time. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to have time to spend on myself a little bit. Now, what have I been doing with this time apart from that one trip to Adelaide? I have also gone to a quick trip to Brisbane actually, and I'm going back to Brisbane next month again. Last trip I was just there to visit some friends, and I was also looking at some locations to potentially film. I love Brisbane. It's such a cool city, and I can't wait to show you the city and show you how they're incorporating plants everywhere. Everywhere you go, they have the most amazing plants. They're a little bit further up north, so closer to the equator, so it is a little bit warmer over there, and it really shows in the plants that they just have on the side of the road. So if you guys thought that Sydney is nice and tropical, we are not. We're actually tempered, and Brisbane would be subtropical, but it really makes a difference when it comes to the plants. Put this one over here. So that I've done, and I really enjoyed that. It was just so nice. I really want to go back to Brisbane, but the problem I have right now is that it's just cold. I absolutely hate winter. And hear me out, yeah? Because every time I talk about winter, people make it like a competition. It's like, oh, you're not allowed to complain about winter because you live in Australia. Imagine the winter in Canada, or imagine the winter in Norway, or whatever. First of all, I lived in Germany for 19 years of my life. I know what a really cold winter feels like. Secondly, this is not a competition. Just because you're suffering through an even worse winter doesn't mean that I can't also suffer through the Australian winter. What makes the Australian winter so annoying to me specifically is, first of all, the darkness. I just hate the darkness. I love sunlight. And second of all, the fact that it is colder inside of your house than it is outside of your house. So outside during the day, you know, it can still easily go up to like 20 degrees during the day in the sun. Goes down to 6 degrees at night. Your house is, unless you heat it, is probably going to stay consistently at about 10 degrees. Unless you have a modern house, then the modern house, they're a little bit better insulated. But the old houses basically have no insulation. So it is just freezing cold inside. So you're just not catching a break from the cold. It's almost like you want to go out during the day to warm up. You know what I mean? That's the problem. You just feel like you cannot escape the cold. Everywhere you go is just cold. You go to a restaurant, oh, well, the restaurant has outdoor seating. Half the restaurant is outdoors and just supported by these little temporary gas heaters, so people can still sit there. I just don't understand. The houses, the buildings, the malls are open. A lot of the malls are just open. So when you go from one shop to the other, you're suffering. It's just not built for cold, but we're experiencing cold. I know I'm not the only one. There's this girl, and I can't for the life of me remember her name, but she was even in the Australian news. She's Canadian. She was like, I'm Canadian living in Australia, and I think it's her first year here, so bless. And she talks about how even in Canada, she has never suffered more through winter than in Sydney, because it is so cold inside. And she's from Canada. She's definitely used to cold, right? So I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not specifically. I know that I'm easily cold, but I'm also actually quite easily hot. I sweat easily. So I know I'm not like unreasonable over here when I say that it gets quite cold in Australia. So yeah, and obviously this also applies to my plants. Now I am heating my place. My heater is pretty much on all the time this year because this is also the coldest house I've ever had. I have very little sun hitting my house, so my house doesn't really warm up nicely during the day. At nighttime it gets cold down to, like, we have a few 5 to 6 degree cold nights. So I have the heater on all the time, which dries out the place a lot, which is not really nice for myself. I don't like dry air. It's also not super nice for my plants, so my plants are definitely suffering a little bit. My plants suffering never makes me happy, you know. I always want my plants to thrive. I feel like if my plants are thriving, I'm thriving, my business is thriving. So, you know, it's not the best time at the moment to try and establish a business. And yeah, so I could have potentially waited a little bit longer and just kept my job during winter, because it's a good distraction to stay out of the cold and just stay inside and work on your computer, and then quit my job going into spring, summer. I had this sense that, oh, I really want to quit my job back then, and I did it. And you know, in hindsight, you can always make the best decisions and so on, but I think it was still an okay decision at the time. I definitely, as I said, don't necessarily regret it, but yeah, I could have considered that maybe a little bit better. Now with winter, and as I mentioned, the plants kind of not thriving that much, comes the challenge of content creation. I feel like recently I don't have all too much content to create, because I don't have all too much to do, right? Like my plants aren't growing that fast, so I don't have to do many chop and extends. I do absolutely nothing in the garden. I haven't watered in the garden in months now. I don't have to do all too much repotting. I don't have too much rearranging, because the plants aren't changing all too much, you know. So there isn't all too much exciting growth to show you, because, well, everything is kind of just, it's going okay. But it's not like shooting the lights out that I'm like, oh, I want to make a video. Luckily, I started a lot of video ideas like a year ago. So over the next few months, there's a lot of videos coming due, right? I started a lot of videos a year ago and then started making updates and made updates throughout the year to then kind of give you a 12-month transformation video. So lucky I have a lot of those in the pipeline, but they take a lot of time to create. And look, I mean, I also now need to start videos so that next year I'm in the same position. So I've actually filmed a lot more than you guys think. I just don't post them straight away, right? Some things that I filmed last week you won't see for another 12 months probably. But I'm still getting my 2 videos out a week. So on that note, I would also really love to hear from you what kind of videos you would like to see from me. And don't say more 12-month transformation videos. I know you want to see those. I would really appreciate if you guys would have any video ideas that I can kind of implement on the spot, right? So a video that I can film right now, edit this afternoon, and then post tomorrow. Not one that I film today and then edit in 12 months time and so on. So something that I can kind of instantly turn around, but it still adds value to you guys and something that you guys actually want to see. That would be really cool to hear, because I always am looking for those ideas. And some of these can also be repetition. I know I spoke about everything to do with moss pulse already, but I know that a lot of you guys are potentially new here as well and haven't heard about me talk about all of this. So if there's a topic that you would like to get a little repeat on, let me know as well. I'm always happy to do a little recap. But yeah, there's definitely lots and lots of ideas floating in my head around spring, upcoming spring, and content ideas for spring, but it needs to be spring first. Okay, enough about this part, and sorry if this whole video is actually really boring and uninteresting to you, but I'm committed. I'm committed to making it. Spring, 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 spring. Well, my spring, so September in Australia spring. For you guys, it is autumn, our turn. It's not 100% confirmed yet, but I have been talking to Jenny from Plant Hall, the US distributor of GT Foliage Focus, the nutrient that I've been using for 4 years. And she is going to the International Aeroid Society Expo. Isn't it an expo? Like a fair, I don't know, in Miami, which is on, I think, September 21, 22-ish. I'll confirm the exact dates. And she has invited me to join her. So I will be there. I'm flying to the States. I'll be there for, I think the fair is for 2 days. I'll be there for the 2 days, and I'll be at her stall, the Plant Hall stall. But once I have confirmation and more information about the event and whereabouts I am and so on, I'll also definitely update you on here as well as on my Instagram. But I'm really excited. It will be my second business trip then, so that's good news, you know, and I get to go overseas and see the world. How cool is that? I mean, this is exactly the sort of stuff I wanted to do this for. You know, these are opportunities that you can't get otherwise. You can't buy these sort of opportunities. I mean, yeah, technically I can buy a ticket to Miami and just attend the fair, but it's kind of cool to be invited, you know what I mean? I'm really bad at acknowledging achievements. I always feel like I'm working on the next thing already without actually like just taking a little step back and kind of appreciating what I've got right now. And I know we're going really deep. So being invited to go to Miami to attend the fair, I'll really see as a huge compliment and as a huge acknowledgement of my work to date. And on top of that, of course, I'm super excited to meet so many people. I mean, most of the people that watch my content are from America. So, and America is really far away. So I'm really excited to go there and meet a lot of you guys and network and meet more people over there. People that are as passionate about plants as I am. So I'm super excited to meet everybody over there. So yeah, honestly, I couldn't be more excited. Let me know in the comments if you're planning on going. And keep an eye on my community tab. I'll definitely post more about it leading up to it. But I think it is the 21st and 22nd of September. I think those are the dates. Oh my god, we're advancing to bag number 2. Oh my god. I'm just hoping that the start was maybe the hardest part. But yeah, those are the only travels I have planned so far. But that's already way more travel than I normally do. I don't travel much normally. So that's already exciting. And a friend of mine is coming from Germany for all of December. So I think then the two of us will also travel a little bit more in Australia again, see some parts that neither he nor me have seen so far. So that will be cool. I'm looking forward to that. It's always nice to not travel alone, and if I don't travel alone, I also always have a cameraman with me, which really comes in handy. Actually, talking about cameraman, I would love to film a little bit when I'm in the States, but keep in mind it is a business trip. First and foremost, I'm there to help out at the stall where they sell the fertilizer that I use. It's not a trip for me to go and film the whole fair. So I'm not too sure if I'm even going to bring my camera, because I'm also going to be there alone. I'm not going to have anybody there to help me film, so I might not really even bother bringing my camera equipment in the first place. Maybe I won't. Because honestly, sometimes when I go to these events, I really want to film. And then I get so in my head about not getting the best footage or not getting all of the footage that I want, and things not being perfect and the light not being correct and all of this, you know, that I actually end up taking away from the experience from myself. So I think I really just want to go there and experience it for myself consciously, not just through a camera. But I'll try and maybe I'll take my little action camera or something like that, so I can bring you along a little bit at least. See how we go. Maybe a little vlog or something like that. And also spend as much time as possible with people and talk to people and have nice chats and get to meet you guys, rather than being so focused on getting content. And to be honest, you know, the content that actually performs the best on my YouTube channel is never that sort of content. That content would take a long time to produce. And I know it's not actually gonna be as well received as some of the content where I just do, you know, my moss pole stuff, my plants, my indoor plants, the things that you guys probably all started following me for. That's usually the content that performs the best. So I also need to be savvy with my decisions. Is it really worth it for me to jeopardize my own experience, rush? I get so in my head about it, and I get so upset about things not working out the way that I want them to work out. It's definitely something I need to work on. But am I maybe robbing myself from a really nice experience? Put a lot of effort into creating a piece of content that then doesn't actually resonate with that many people, most likely. So I think I'm just going to go there and really enjoy the interactiveness of being in a different country, being surrounded by different people, being surrounded by different plants that we don't have on offer over here in Australia potentially as well, and really just take it in for that. And it's going to be a good start to spring. It is also just a couple of days after my birthday, so September is going to be a very, very busy month. It's my birthday, it's Tim's birthday. I'm I'm going to Brisbane, I'm going to Miami. Spring is coming, and then after September I'm coming back and we have daylight savings, so we get an extra hour at nighttime. Ugh, I can't wait for that, but it's still a month and a half until the beginning of September, so gotta hold on tight and do some Legos. Sorry, off topic, but I love this. Look at this on the side. It says the name of this plant, and I read the Harry Potter books in German, so I actually know this as Alraune. But I love that in all the languages it's like Mandrake, Mandragori, Mandragola, Mandragora. Anyway, all of the languages pretty much agree that it's some shape, some kind of mandrake. Is that how do you even say it in English? Is it man and drake? Mandrake? Mandraki? I don't know. And then there's German, that even on the box says Zaubertrankpflanze Alraune. Why? Like, why do Germans have to be so extra? All the other countries are like the same. And then we go with Alraune. We love to overcomplicate things, don't we? So, I spoke about it being cold and whatever, and yes, my plants are not happy. The ones indoors are doing fine, the ones outdoors are doing terribly, like really bad. I do think it is, not all of them, of course, you know, some of them are doing better than others, but I think on average it is actually much more damage. There's much more damage out there than I would have anticipated, and I don't think I'm the only one who feels like that. I've had a few comments from other people in New South Wales as well. So New South Wales, for anybody who doesn't know, New South Wales is the state. Sydney is the capital of it. It's by far the most important state in all of Australia. Oh, wait for the comments. Yeah, other people in New South Wales have also told me that this winter they've had more damage than they've had any other winter, despite having a few plants that have had many seasons outside already. Now, for most of my plants, it is the first season outside. A lot of them only moved out there as part of this move. This is the house that I have by far the least natural light in and the least room to actually have plants. Plus I have a housemate as well, you know, this is no longer just my house. I also need to make sure that this house is functional for my housemate and not just a plant display, or like not just a museum for plants, you know what I mean? So lots and lots more plants had to go outside this year. Also, it's my first full winter with a greenhouse. I've only started the greenhouse journey last year, but I didn't really fill the greenhouse until, or at least properly, until spring last year. So it's also the first year for a lot of my plants in the greenhouse out there. And yeah, neither the ones outside the greenhouse nor the ones inside the greenhouse do specifically well. Again, like monsteras, epipremnums and so on, they all do quite well. I did a video on this just the other day where I did a little update on my garden, and actually everything was still looking quite okay in that video. But since that video, we've had a few weeks of kind of consistently going down to 6, 7, 8 degrees at night, so single digits, and it definitely shows. With every day, the plants out there is suffering more and more leaves are dropping. I just go out there and leaves are just on the floor because the petioles snapped. It's also still really wet on top of that, which definitely doesn't help because cold and wet is always just a terrible combination. I'm obviously not over the moon with it, but realistically it was something to be expected, and if I would have been really concerned about it, I could have potentially given some of these plants to AJ for her to help me overwinter them, or give them to Tim, he's got a little bit more room in his house and so on. But I also want to... First of all, I'm curious to see which plants can actually handle it. Second of all, I did not anticipate the winter to be that bad, to be really honest. And thirdly, I like to experience things, right? Like somebody's going to tell me, hey, this plant will not survive winter out there. I'll be like, challenge accepted. I want to see it with my own eyes, and I want to document it, and I want to show you guys. So for me, it's kind of like an experiment. Of course, it's an experiment that I'm not really anticipating to have great success with, but it's still somewhat of an experiment. And I don't know why, I kind of like that. I like making these experiences and then being able to talk from experience rather than somebody left a comment somewhere telling me to not do that, so I didn't do it. You know what I mean? So I'm really curious to see what plants will make it. I'm hoping the worst is over. the days are definitely getting a little bit longer again, but the temperature is having a hard time catching up, right? Like the temperature is still kind of going lower and lower and lower. But it is what it is. What I will get out of it is I will learn what plants I can keep out there and what not, right? The plants that, if I can't keep these plants out there, I also can't keep them inside. Putting them all inside for winter is not the solution. That is not really the way that I like to grow my plants. So if they can't survive out there, then they're just not the plant for me to grow. So it's really like a survival of the fittest out there at the moment, and the plants will tell me which ones deserve to stay in my collection and which ones will have to go. But knowing me, in spring I'll probably buy some more and try my luck again next year. Talking about next year, the dreaded topic of renewing a lease is coming up. Not just yet, but I know it's coming up, and I like to be upfront about it because I know that historically I'm having a really hard time keeping a bloody house. I don't know, I'm always really unlucky with it. To be honest, I haven't really decided yet if I want to renew. I do think this is the nicest house I've ever lived in, but it is also the darkest house and the most expensive house I've ever been in. And I am more, now that I only have one income, and again, I'm not complaining about it, so I do want to consider, I obviously also need to take into consideration my housemate's preference and if she wants to stay here as well or not. But at the moment, I'm not feeling super excited about this place. And I do know that it's partially also just because it's winter. I know that during winter, nothing really excites me. I'm having a hard time. Like everything is just meh. And I just consciously need to remind myself that, hey, I think you're just feeling meh about everything because it's winter and it's cold and dark. And my housemate feels the same. She's from Brazil, so she's used to very hot temperatures. She hates the winter months. So kind of between us, we're just constantly bitching about the winter months, which also doesn't help with the mindset, you know what I mean? It kind of just makes it worse. But we're just like, when is it finally over? We live for the summer. And I think in summer, I really, really liked this house. I was so happy with this place during summer. I think right now is not the right time to make a decision because I'm very negatively minded towards everything at the moment, and that's not really, yeah. If I have to move house again, am I going to look for a new rental? Am I looking for a new rental by myself or with a housemate? The rental market is still so incredibly expensive over here, and I just really, really dislike the idea of renting and spending so much money on something that you get no capital from in the long run. So I think this is definitely one of my priorities, and I think that will then also shape my professional ambitions, right? It is probably a good idea to have full-time employment if you are trying to buy something, just to increase your borrowing capacity. So that was also another reason why I kind of wanted to do this content creation thing full-time ASAP, because I feel like, okay, this is a great opportunity right now. I don't know when I'm in a position to have a full-time job for the sake of getting a mortgage and then paying the mortgage as well. So I kind of wanted to do it while I'm also in a financially very relaxed position where I don't have to, you know what I mean? I don't know if that all makes sense. I just felt like it was the right moment where, you know what, I have nothing to lose. I'll just really go with the flow, which is so unlike me. I haven't gone with the flow ever in my life, really. I've always been pretty strategic in what I want to do and what is the best way of going about it. So kind of not knowing what the future holds is a really new experience for me, and it's part of a huge learning curve that I'm currently kind of going through. In general, I finally have time to really think about myself a little bit more and think about what I want to do in life, what I stand for, what are the things that really excite me, what do I want to do in my life. And I feel like I was always so success-driven, career-driven, like almost money-driven, right? And I didn't like that. As I get a bit older, I really just value time over everything. Having time available to do the things that you want to do, that to me, I just don't know how you could possibly beat that. And it's always easier said than done, of course, because at the end of the day, like, I'm not delusional. Like, yeah, you need money to survive, for sure. And money can definitely make your life much, much easier. Also, 100% for sure. But it's not everything. Money doesn't necessarily buy you happiness. And yeah, those are the years I will just remember for the rest of my life. And nobody can take that away from me. So I'm super excited. Look, it's cute. So yeah, as I mentioned, business in itself wasn't necessarily my priority. And I'm putting my work in, don't get me wrong. But my priority was really kind of taking a bit of time for myself, as I said, to travel a little bit and to enjoy Australia, but also just to do a little bit of, and without wanting to get too deep, doing a little bit of soul searching, kind of. You know, I feel like sometimes you're just so blindly running in one direction because at some stage in your life you decided that this is the right direction to go in. And I think sometimes we don't reevaluate, or at least I don't. So it was really good to have this sort of time available to really think about the decisions that I've made in my life and how I feel about them, and if I still endorse them, and if not, then take appropriate action. We are definitely getting deep now. When I was 19, 20, I made a lot of decisions in my life that made me end up over here. And I'm really happy I made these decisions, for sure. I wouldn't change it for anything, but I feel like I made a lot of decisions when I was 19, 20, and then for 10 years thereafter, I didn't make that many decisions. I just followed through with these decisions. But in those 10 years, I changed a lot as a person, right? So it's kind of like, 30-year-old Jan working on 20-year-old Jan's goals. It's not a bad thing, but does 30-year-old Jan agree with 20-year-old Jan's goals? And I think that's where I found a bit of a disconnect. I think as a teenager, I was much more success driven, and I think I kind of like, to me, like success equals money, kind of. And I think that has definitely changed a lot. And with that new mindset, I can now reevaluate what I actually want to do with my life and how I want to spend my time and so on. So, how do I say this without sounding super wanky, you know what I mean? I'm making some fundamental discoveries about how I want to live my life and what is important to me and so on. And I feel like I didn't really give myself enough time before to evaluate all of that. And maybe some people don't need to quit their job to come to that sort of conclusion, but I'm somebody who doesn't allow much time for thinking. I'm somebody who likes to just execute on it and just follow through and not necessarily reevaluate. And over the last 2 months, I have definitely noticed I have become a crazy overthinker because I actually have the time to overthink it. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but I feel like maybe it's time for me to be, to have these years again where I'm doing a little bit more thinking and I'm making a few decisions that then will impact the next 10 years of my life. And then the next 10 years it's just follow through, right? Once, for example, I do buy a house, you're probably gonna have a 30-year mortgage attached to that house, and then it's follow through time. But right now, it's not follow through time. Right now is crunch time. Right now is the time to kind of explore a little bit, make some decisions and make some discoveries, make some experiences. Obviously, I feel most comfortable talking to you guys about my professional life because, well, you are enabling my professional life. But I'm also a person. I have a personal life and I have a private life. And I want to explore a little bit more in my personal life again. I want to have hobbies. My hobby can't be having 2 jobs, I want to have proper hobbies again, and hopefully with summer I'll get to do a little bit more outdoor exercise again, because at the moment I'm having a really hard time motivating myself to go for a run because it's so cold out there. So if I go for a run, I run indoors now, and it's just never that amazing. It's just not fun. But I've also been busy in my personal life. I think it's definitely something I neglected for a long time because I was just too busy focusing on business. I am very much enjoying myself. You know what I mean. but I'm gonna stop teasing you now because, well, why am I talking about my personal life if I don't want to talk about my personal life? Professional. What else has happened? And I think I need to do this twice, they said. Now, to be honest, I'm not too sure if I'm allowed to say any of this, but I haven't signed anything, so I suppose I'm allowed to. I have been in touch with a publishing house on potentially writing a book. Now, they contacted me. I didn't contact them. They contacted me asking if that is something that I'm interested in. So I started being in contact with them. But it is very early days. I don't know how I feel about writing a book. I mean, I feel very... I take it as a compliment that they approached me in the first place. That's definitely nice. But... yeah, I'm not necessarily getting my hopes up about this actually eventuating, because I also don't know how much I've got to say that's not already been said. You guys know I suffer from imposter syndrome, and I just feel like, why would anybody want to listen to what I've got to say? Surely there's somebody who knows a little bit better. I feel good about YouTube because ultimately you guys don't have to pay to watch my YouTube videos, right? Like if you think I talk absolute rubbish, which I often do, then you can just click away and there is no implication for you, you know, so I don't feel like bad, but obviously your book would have to be purchased, and I always feel really terrible about people purchasing something and then potentially not getting the value out of it. I would absolutely hate that. I don't know. Some days I feel good about it, some days I feel bad about it, you know what I mean? So here we go, very early days, and I suppose also if they don't think that I have something important to say as part of the book, then it would never get published in the first place. So that's the good thing about working with professionals, you know, that, you know, I'm not the only one making the judgment call. They're the professionals, they know, they have experience in publishing books, so they can let me know if I'm delusional or not. I've also had another camera team visit me over the last few months, and we filmed something really cool, but again, I can't exactly tell you what it is for. I was very happy with this opportunity. It was kind of very rewarding experience, let's put it that way. So if you're in Australia, you might have an idea what it could be, and I'll let you know as soon as it will be up on telly, or once I know the publishing date for sure, I'll let you know so that we can all watch it on the telly. These are the sort of things that I rather do for the experience and rather do for lack of better terms, literally for the ego boost, you know what I mean? Of course it's a bit of an ego boost if you're asked to be on television or you're asked to write a book and so on, right? So I suppose it sounds much harsher than it is. Ego boost sounds very negative, but isn't that kind of what most of us want? We're all just humans. We all just want to kind of be told that we're doing well, right? Like if you put a lot of effort into something and you're very passionate about something, you just want to be told that, yeah, you're doing well and we see you, we acknowledge your efforts, and yeah, don't you think? I don't know. Oh my god, now it's getting hectic. I'm very much enjoying this actually. Can you believe I'm on step 148? Can you believe my greenhouse only had like 5 steps? And it took me 4 days to build it. This one has 148 steps. And I'm smashing through it. It's pretty cool how it all comes together. Like each piece looks like absolutely nothing, but then when you put it all together, it works. And we're finally moving on to the green bricks. Actually, that just reminded me, as a child, I didn't actually do that much Lego as a child. I grew up in Germany and I used Playmobil. I don't know, is Playmobil an international thing? I used Playmobil. At least my Germans would 100% know what I'm talking about. But I also did, you know when you can do like these like little, and I think you need to like super glue it. It's like these little model things. You end up with like little models of like boats or airplanes and so on. I always did that as well. So I definitely very much always enjoyed these sort of things. When I was a child, there was still no internet. I feel like very privileged being this generation that remembers a time where there was just no internet and the TV had 6 buttons and children's channel just turns off at 7. There's just static after 7 o'clock or something like that, you know, so there wasn't 24/7 entertainment and all of that. So I feel really privileged that I still got to experience that. So And I never really played computer games even after I had a computer. Definitely did a bit of social media when social media was a thing, but yeah, as a child I loved doing these sort of things, but I always hated the sticking on part. So when there's any sort of stickers that you need to stick on, because I would just never be happy with the way that I put it on there, so I just get really frustrated with myself as a child. So that one always, like, my dad had to do, that I remember. I was actually thinking about it the other day because I watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. I watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary on Netflix, and there was this one part that really kind of resonated with me. Okay, hang on, we're doing the sticky part now. Okay, I think I can do this. I think I'm old enough to do this now. And he said as a child he was just lying in bed looking up at the ceiling. He had posters on his wall and he just visualized his life. He was just like, this is what I want to do, this is, you know. And he kind of manifested it to the extent where his life turned out exactly the way that he kind of envisioned it, the way that he dreamt about it. And honestly, I don't think, and I can't speak for all of them. Obviously, I'm sure there's children that also grow up without iPads. If I would have a child, I would definitely give this child an iPad. Just to give myself a little bit of peace, right? But I reckon, and I mean, even now, it's not just children. It's even like people my age, people older than me, people younger than me, you know. We don't experience boredom anymore. No, let me maybe rephrase it a little bit. I feel like back in the days, boredom was not a thing. Like, being bored was just the default. You don't constantly have entertainment, right? Or what we perceive as boring these days would have never been perceived as boring back in the days, right? I feel like these days, as soon as you don't have like just distraction, you're immediately bored. As I said, he was lying there as a child and he was just using his imagination to not be bored. But these days we always need external input from something. Somebody needs to do something. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. It could be a good thing. I'm no educator. I'm no child care work or whatever, I don't know. But also realistically, look, these children need to grow up to function in today's society, and today's society is very fast-paced and very technology-driven. If you raise your child without any technology, that child is going to have a really hard time fitting into society once it's time to go to school, once it's time to have a job and so on. You just need to learn these skills. So it's just a reflection of our society and where we're at the moment. It's not necessarily a dig at parents not raising their children correctly, you know what I mean? It's just, well, this is what our society kind of expects from us these days, so it is what it is. Look at the leaves. But I never really thought about it that much until I heard that in the documentary, where I was like, I actually remember just being in my room, and I don't even know what I did in my room, but there wouldn't have been TV, there wouldn't have been internet, there wouldn't have been an iPad, there wouldn't have been an iPhone. I would have just played with my toys. I would have just played with Lego. I would have played with Playmobil. I would have had that Playmobil, I think it was like a castle or something like that, and I had the pirate ship, and that pirate ship was epic, guys, and I had the dragon, and I would just play with this non-stop, you know what I mean? Like, and it would just be all in my head. It would all just be imagination, right? Because obviously nothing is actually happening. I see it with my nephews. Like, every present that every toy, every child's toy that they've got is like a smart toy. And I mean, why not? If it's available to buy, I would totally buy it too, and I would absolutely love this as a child. But everything is already so pre-done. Like, you don't need to use your imagination these days anymore, I feel like. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing or what it is. It's just a reflection of society, right? But all I'm really trying to say here is, like, I'm really, really grateful that I grew up when I grew up, because I really enjoyed having those times. And then I also enjoyed having my teenage years where I absolutely got up to no good, and have these, yes, and there was social media around, or there was like phones, and you know, we had phones with cameras and so on, but it wasn't as like social media, like, it wasn't social media like social media is these days, yeah? social media wasn't just about getting bullied and like convincing people of your opinion. Social media was like super cute and innocent. You'd share like, oh my god, we went clubbing last night. You know what I mean? Like things you would never post these days anymore. Oh look. Yeah, we went clubbing, and while we had a phone, the phone was really there to like, in case you get absolutely lost, you can find your way home or something like that. It wasn't like, oh my god, we're gonna post everything on social media, or like, you know, like it was. I feel like it was so cute and innocent. I would absolutely hate to be a teenager these days. Hate it. And of course everything these days is also really like politically correct, and it's not a bad thing, right? I think there's a reason why we need to be politically more correct, because a lot of the things were just really bloody rude, you know what I mean, that people were saying, and they were getting away with it. You know, when you watch these shows from like the early 2000s on telly, and you're like, oh my god, how did they get away with this? But yeah, we just got away with things back in the days, and it feels kind of cool to know that we got away with it, you know what I mean? Or not that we got away with it, but it feels cool to know that we didn't have to worry about being cancelled or saying the wrong thing, or you don't even need to say the wrong thing online to be bullied, you know what I mean? Like people just get bullied for being themselves. I mean, there's many people that just get bullied for the way that they look, for being themselves, for their sexuality or whatever, without actually having done anything. So yeah, I think this would be a very cruel time to grow up in. I really liked my upbringing in Germany as well. I'm really happy I grew up in Germany in like a smallish city. It was really cool. I really can't complain. I'm definitely making more of a conscious effort in understanding how my upbringing has shaped my personality, let's say, and why I am the way that I am, and why do I always have imposter syndrome, why do I need to, you know, why do I always doubt myself with all of the things that I do and so on, you know, like those are just things that I'm trying to kind of work through a little bit and understand a little bit better. Not because I don't like the way that I am, I'm just trying to kind of understand it a little bit better so I can use it to my advantage, you know, and to kind of, yeah, just to get to know myself a little bit better. And not just myself, I'm also trying to understand other people a little bit better, and trying to understand people with different points of views, and I'm trying to be a little bit more open-minded about everything as well. And I think this is just net. I think that just comes with maturity, right? As you age, especially also, you know, in Australia, I'm exposed to many different cultures from many people from different countries, from different cultures. All over the place. So I feel like I'm in a really good position to actually firsthand get to experience different cultures, different people from all over the world, and I feel like I want to take advantage of that and not just seek confirmation of my own bias all the time. But it is a learning curve. It's definitely exhausting, but yeah, it is something I actively work on, and I like it. This is actually what it's like to be friends with me. If you're friends with me, we're gonna have like 7 conversations going on at the same time. We're probably only going to finish 2 of those 7 conversations, but when we catch up again this time next year, we can continue. This is very therapeutic. I feel like I don't have enough brain capacity to talk to you coherently and do this at the same time. So I think next time I need to choose a topic that I feel more comfortable talking about, where I don't need to think about what I want to say or too much, but I can just talk, like moss pulse, for example. You know, when it comes to moss pulse, it's like second nature. You could wake me up in the middle of the night and I'll just talk about moss pulse to you. Easy peasy. But when it comes to being a little bit more personal, talking about business, talking a little bit more about like private life or the lack of, I'm still really nervous of saying the wrong thing and how it's going to be perceived and so on. So I need to concentrate on that a little bit more. So that was kind of really bad planning from my side. Sorry. But maybe you guys are just enjoying the Legoing. This whole thing is actually much larger than I expected. I mean, it did say how large it was on the box, but do I look like I read instructions? It says following step 800 of the instruction manual. So definitely with Lego, surely it's not just about making it as efficient as possible to build it. It's definitely about the building process, right? Because there are some steps where I'm like, you could have done this for me already. You could have pre-assembled this. I think the average person doesn't just want it to be pre-assembled, the average person actually does it for the sake of building, right? See the journey, it's all about the journey. I love all of this, all of the botanic range that LEGO has as well. They have like lots of little planty things and so on. I actually think they're all super, super cute. But oh my god, I had no idea how expensive LEGO was. I just saw it at the airport and I was like, oh my god, I need this in my life. And then I went home online and I was like, LEGO is actually quite expensive. I emailed them, I was like, hi, would you like to sponsor me? They did not want to sponsor me. Oh, but that's okay. I was like, you know what, it will be fun. So, good. I definitely need to work on my spending a little bit. You know, that's, I think, a priority this financial year. Try and spend less. But then at the same time, I hate being stingy. I absolutely hate it. As I said, this year it's all about like enjoying the moment, right? And sometimes you got to spend a little bit of money to enjoy the moment. I always feel like money can be made, you know, by experiences. They can't be taken away from you. I'm not saying that building this LEGO thing is like the most amazing experience I've ever had in my life, and it can't be taken away from me. But you know what I mean in general. Like when it comes to going out with friends, spending some time, having a good time and so on. Like I don't mind investing in that, because ultimately to me time is the most precious thing, and experiences and time with friends. Last sticker. Okay. Fucked it. Slightly off center. That's okay. My little mandrake. I want to call it Mandrake. No, why does this not work? Oh my god, they have the whole castle. Okay, now we need to put it in here. I think it goes in there. Oi, alrighty, and here it is. Here is my little screaming mandrake. Oh, I love it! It's so cute! I actually really like the pot. Maybe if I don't like the actual mandrake, I'll just take the pot and I'll use the pot for whatever I want. And these all spin as well and twist around. Oh, I like this. I think it's very cute. He's got the cutest little face, doesn't he? I don't know. Anyway, I better wrap it up. And thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way, leave the little pot plant emoji in the comment section down below. And I hope this wasn't too boring or kind of irrelevant for you. I think next time around I'll definitely take some notes, so to keep myself on track a little bit better while doing something else as well. But yeah, it was just kind of candid, you know, just kind of hanging out a little bit like friends, and I hope you at least enjoyed that part. I'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!